Okay, and welcome back to replays for Hazy Flame with the Fire Warrior engine, mostly Phoenix, Immortal Phoenix Gearfried. Here we go. Two modifications since the deck profile. One is the addition of Kiteroid to the main deck. The ban list for Duel Links just dropped, nerfing Orcust, Odd Eyes, Onomats, and giving a slap on the wrist to Speedroids. And we got a launch of a new main box, which means that the meta is wide open right now. So I don't know exactly what to expect. So I'm not super concerned about optimizing the list until I know what people are actually doing with stuff. There's a new skill for the Armed Dragons, the Monarchs as well. There might be another that I can't remember off the top of my head. And there's one other modification. We're adding a copy of Fairy Knight Inganar to the extra deck in place of Ptolemy. Most of the situations where Ptolemy works, we tended to prefer Basiltris because that 2700 attack hasn't mattered a lot recently. And the only way you're really getting stuff that needs generic materials, or rather a material that isn't a Hazy Flame monster, is if Virgil gets summoned off of Beatrice. And that hasn't happened super frequently recently, so it's not a huge concern for us. And this is kind of a make or break play. If the opponent's board is too sticky to get rid of, and we don't have a way of winning next turn if we try to stall out or only partially clear the board. It's an all or nothing play, but if the other stuff wasn't winning you the game anyway, it didn't really matter. Now you might be asking why it's all or nothing if we use our entire board and we only get 2200 attack. Because we're running Phoenix, Gearfried, and Mars, we have options of putting over 4000 damage on the board just between Inganar and one of those two. And it's not hard to get to a situation where those plays matter, especially if you set this stuff up in advance. I still expect Orcust, Speedroid, and Odd Eyes to be very dominant forces in the metagame. And this deck is still fairly brick prone, so we need survival tools, hence why we're running 3 hand traps and 3 searchers, 4 hand traps. So let's see where we go. First matchup could be against anything, but I'm kind of expecting Orcust still. No skill to tell us, so it's probably a safe assumption that it's going to be switcheroo Orcust. There's other gimmicky stuff that can come about right now, but we don't really need to play super defensively because they took out a lot of the limit 3s, or rather they went all in on Scrap Recycler. We're not super worried about them extending as much, but we should expect them to run a lot of copies of Book of Moon, Forbidden Chalice, and the like. Now, we could go straight into that, and they might still be running a lot of Cosmic Cyclones. So we're going to go for the wide play, which is a little weird and may not make a lot of sense right now. But we're actually in a good spot where we can reasonably expect to follow up the following turn. We've already milled a copy of Roland, so we don't have to do anything with Beatrice. So we're going to go ahead and send the Blazing Mars to the graveyard. And I think we're going to want Salamandra on something right now. So during the end phase, we're going to use Roland. And instead of searching for Veil, we're going to go for Gearfried. We already have a hand trap in hand, so we're not super concerned about dying or getting board presence on the follow-up turn. If the opponent wants to use the Cosmic Cyclone on Salamandra, that's not too bad for us. It's not great for us, but it's not too bad either. So they went straight for the Book of Moon. So we use Beatrice, follow up, and go for another card. Even if we don't really benefit from another copy of Phoenix Gearfried, it's still very good for us to have another fire monster in hand in case we top deck Agnemazud or the like. Yeah, he's going straight for Salamandra, which, hey, more power to you. That's one less card I have to worry about. Oh, this is Madolche. That's a little bad for us because that's non-targeting removal. But it's not as bad as you'd think. Because even though they can clear this board, we still have Kiteroid in hand, and they don't really have a good way of dealing with it. Although they're going for the extended play, which is to say they're going to be able to hoot cake extend and go into a monster negate, which is a little annoying for us, but they're not going to be able to use that to push for game this turn. So the question is what they go for from here. Does he have the resources to go into tiramisu? I can't tell at a glance, but my gut says yes. He'll be able to summon a level 4 off of, what's her face? That's annoying for us, actually. I wonder if he sent the right one, so we might have some issues with that. He could have sent back the Salamandra and made it so that Gearfried was all but dead, but we don't know exactly what he's doing yet. And that can banish... Okay, that's a little... No, he's fine. He's fine. Let's see. He goes for Messengelato, so we get something. I'm not exactly sure what kind of trap or spell you would want. Okay, so he's getting the monster negates. No monsters in the graveyard. Banishes Hoot Cake. Goes for something. Does he have the cards to go for tiramisu? I think he can shuffle his stuff back. Is Glass Souffle... I've been wondering, is Glass Souffle once per turn? Yes, it is. So that's a little... Oh, I don't care about that. Yeah, this is fine. I'm going to see if we can goad out a warning point or a bottomless. Nothing going on here, so let's do this. We don't need to commit to the Gearfried yet, so we may as well actually just try to force out stuff. Yep, there's the monster negate. That might have been a bit premature. Glass Souffle. That could be bad for us, actually. If he knows that he needs to go for the Salamandra, then we made a mistake. If that was the case, we should have gone for the Gearfried first. That was my bad. We could at least bully him into doing something. And it might have actually been better for us to go for, what's it called? Sphinx, because we have the option to follow up anyway. I forgot that's the thing I don't like about Madolche. They can control your graveyard to an extent that most decks aren't good at doing. He's gone for his own stuff, which I'm not sure I agree with, but if his last card is something like... Book of Moon, that could be trouble for us. It doesn't appear to be, though, so we're not super worried about that. We're going to go for Glass Souffle and Hoot Cake, because this card is functionally useless right now. So let's... I don't think we need a trigger switcheroo. So we're just going to kind of take his stuff and force him to deal with our board. And now we could go for what I'm assuming is a Cosmic... Yeah, MSG. No, you're good. We're in a little bit of a bind right now. We don't have a great follow-up to his stuff, and we don't really have a good way of coming around. Oh, that's a... Oh. Well, that's my bad. Yeah, the play would have been to equip Glass Souffle. Although it looks like no matter what he does... he can go into Tiramisu and go live from here. And it's going to be really hard for us to come back from this. I think that's about it. That's my bad. I flubbed this. The right play would have been to attack the face-down Magdalene so he couldn't flip summon it, get value off of it. And following it up would have been tougher for him. Well, you can't get them all right. Once again, this is an Ishizu. Could be Orcust. I'm very conditioned to anything and everything with a somewhat generic skill being Orcust. So we'll see what we got. We don't have an awful hand. Not an amazing one. It's not going to play through many disruptions, but it is going to at least force our opponent to deal with it. Okay. Okay, you've kind of lost me. Where are you going with this? Does he know? He does not. Good job, buddy. So I could see this being Code Talker alive, and we got nothing going on, so we're just going to leave it like this. We don't have a guarantee of follow-up, so this hand feels very dicey. You don't like seeing Sphinx and Peryton in your opening hand, especially multiple copies, just because it means that you don't have any Sphinxes left to summon from the deck. Okay, they're going for presumably we don't care. Yeah, this is just a Gouki player. This isn't the worst, but our opponent has to this isn't taking the bait. This is just basically hoping our opponent doesn't slam unexpected die. Let's actually think this through. We can't win through the summon and play through retaliating die. I think the trap card that mills some stuff. So this is going to seem very dicey, but I think this is the best chance we have of it for now. So he's going to get a search. He's not going to be able to activate unexpected die, and he's not going to have good follow-up for the great follow-up with this. If he wants to live, he has to search out or have Octo Stretch already. So the question is what he has from here. We could go in the extra deck and go for Beatrice just to kind of goad something out and see what he does from there. But I don't think that's going to go the distance. So we're going to go for the basic play. This might be a mistake. There's an argument to be made that what we wanted to do was attack with Sphinx. So if he Book of Mooned, he wouldn't be able to, Book of Moon his own guy, and we wouldn't have lethal anymore. I was scared of Forbidden Chalice, but I think that was a little bit of a waste. All right. So now we have the big question. Does he have Suprex? If he does, we're screwed. But that's just kind of life. If we wanted to go for an extra deck play, and I'm not convinced that would have been the right one, well, that's great for us. So if we search out this, we're going to search out Sphinx and Cerberus. So we can maintain some advantage if we get Agony. And he's gone for a rematch, so he has 2 in the graveyard. Which means he can do full combo, basically. But he is not going to be able to finishing move through Kiteroid. But he should know I have Kiteroid, so that shouldn't be a concern for us. It means he's probably not going to go into Master Ogre. So this is going to be Suprex and a different name. And from there, he can do a pretty solid setup. We don't have a follow-up for next turn, so this feels a little dicey. But our best draw is probably still Agnimazud. It might have been a better play to not search Sphinx and instead search Peryton. So in case we get Agony, we can search Sphinx after the fact and revive something. We've got some interesting options from here. But it's what we got, so it's what we're going to work with. He still has an unexpected, not unexpected, is it Retaliating Die? I think that's the trap card. We can check after the fact. So what I'm guessing is he's going to go to Thunder Ogre with Suprex and Jet Ogre, buff the attack of Rise Scorpio, and from there he'll be able to summon something else, go into Master Ogre, and we'll have to use both charges of Kiteroid, and that's fine. Interesting that he special summons Headbat. I don't think that was necessary in the... Oh, no, no, no. He normal summoned. No, no, no. It was completely unnecessary. That was a wasted card. I don't think he needs an extra Gouki in the graveyard. He's already used Rematch, so I'm just a little confused. A little wang-jangled. We'll see what he's got. What this means is that he can't search another and then use one for Retaliating Die and then another for the Master Ogre Negate. I don't think that's the best search, but I guess if that's all he's got, then he's going to go for it. Neither matters. This does make our follow-up a little awkward because we don't really have a standout play that's really going to just make everything work. So there we go. There's Agni. And there's an argument to be made for banishing Rhyscorpio instead. Because if he has to go for Retaliating Die, we don't want him to get another search. This is dicey, but I think this is the right play. The problem is that we really should have searched Periton, because I was more concerned about getting a more traditional summon or negate, and I could just be entirely wrong anyway. So we're just going to kind of gamble on this, but I don't think we're really going to go the distance. Huh? I guess those are both back row removal? That's weird. Anywho, Periton's dead, so that's not great for us. And we don't have another Sphinx, so this is just going to be Agony beat down until we get something better. That is a great draw. So we're going to go for basically anything that could make our life a wee bit inconvenient. We don't have any more Beast Warriors, so we're not worried about them. And we don't really care about banishing Periton because Ice Dragon's Prison, which I don't think he's running, can't resurrect Periton. One of the only times I was ever glad about it being a summon restricted monster. I don't know if people still call them Nomis. What main deck Gouki monsters would he have left? He's used... he must have 2 Suprexes left. He's probably used both Headbats, the one Rhyscorpio. Hey, we did it. Good stuff. Yeah, good stuff. And we're up against Esparoba. We don't have a lot to go off of now, so this is just going to be the best defense is just more defense. So I've got it set up to do probably Agni and Phoenix Gearfried the following turn, which is a lot of damage. It'll hurt. And we'll probably draw another fire monster, so we're not worried about not having enough material for this guy. And if we really want to, we can also pivot into going for, let's say we draw Periton or Sphinx. We go for a red layer into something else. 1 for 1 to Edea, main Monarchs. I'm never really sure which Monarch lineup people are doing with. I don't know if they're just doing the Erebus and Ether lines along with Kuraz. Yep, this is Erebus. I don't even know what they're going to shuffle back, but I'm not super worried about it. I mean, if he takes the hand trap, specifically Veil, that could be annoying for us. So we'll see what he wants. But that's a little annoying. But we're not helpless. I don't think I see the appeal of that play right now. I don't see how he's going to follow it up unless he has Ether in hand as well. And that's pretty likely. And that's not impossible. Oh, he does not have it. So I don't know what he's going on about. Yeah. We're not really in a rush to use Veil right now. Because this deck does not have too much in the way of aggressive stuff. That getting hit with the Oh, we are fine. So the question is what we want to banish. I am tempted to say, go ahead and banish the Prime Monarch, figure out the rest as we go. Because that's the one that's going to be a pain in the butt. We could also do it to Adia, but the card they can get back is exactly Strike. And it looks like he can activate something. So he's going into Prime Monarch. And he can't really get anything with that, so I'm not super worried about it. So what do I want to banish? I really don't want him messing around with Erebus. That could be really annoying. And it's the biggest target for now, so we'll see. And we have other ways of dealing with Adia if need be. So what could he still activate in the Monarch pool? We'll find out once we put a non-targetable monster on the board. I think it's probably just Escalation. Could be Book of Moon, but eh. So the Prime Monarch is competing for materials with the Prime Monarch, so we're not super worried about it at the moment. Yep, just Escalation. Nothing to tribute summon, so we don't care too much. So, as far as materials go, I think we just want to stop him from having stuff in his graveyard. So, we're going to go for Basilisk and work from there. We probably had the resources to win that turn, but I didn't want to deal with... I didn't think that far ahead. And I don't know what he could draw to follow up and make this board work. Nope, looks like we got it. That's right. This is the other new skill, the Destiny Hero skill that's focused around Dystopia. Well, this is a very good hand for us. I don't know if we care about what Dystopia can do, but I'm going to read it anyway. So we can make Dystopia live from the outset. So I don't think we really need to invest in a protection against that too much. If he just goes for, let's say, Dystopia from the get-go, I don't think we're super concerned about it. So I think we can afford to play a little defensively and just deal with it as it goes. Because if he wants to attack my stuff, that's probably fine. Although we do have the option of going into a double setup. And by that I mean 2 disruptions. And this feels a little dicey because we are banishing both the Peritons in our graveyard. So if we want to follow up with a Sphinx, we're not going to be able to. That's a little dicey, but we are getting another search, which we can use for another copy of Gearfried. Because I don't think we're particularly concerned with surviving. I don't think this is an OTK deck in the traditional sense. So we're going to go for another Gearfried. And even if he goes for something like Cosmic Cyclone or MST, we'll have the follow-up with Roland, so we're not worried about that. We don't want him to have enough monsters to summon Plasma. That's the big problem. I don't think I really care about Celestial. Does that require him to... No, he just needs to normal summon a monster. So Dystopia is live, but there's nothing of value it can kill on the board right now, so we'll just let him do his thing. Yep, you're golden. No, we could go for another malicious after the fact. So we'll see how this goes. Interesting. Now he might actually try to attack with Celestial first, which is fine by us. See, this is a little dicey. This is where we're going to use Beatrice to I'm thinking get it Celestial out of the way. I think that's the highest impact target, weird as that sounds. There's an argument to be made for getting rid of Malicious so we can't do anything else with it. But he really can't do much with this board. The only thing he can really attack is Beatrice, and we just float into another card with that, and that's totally fine. I guess he couldn't follow up from there. Whatever he had as the back row wasn't going the distance. And this is a Joey, so I'm guessing it's another Gearfried player. It's probably not the Hazy Flame variant. I'm an odd one in that regard. So we'll see what he does. Oh, none of those things. Either way, great hand on our part. It's a little dicey opening with Farfa. Okay. This could be a I don't know. If he plays Dark Magical Circle, we'll have something to worry about. But as things stand, oh, this is just a SelfTK deck. Nothing to see here. Okay, let's wrap this up. No point in drawing this out. There we go. Yep, there we go. Here's a Speedroid player. Speedroid is probably the diciest matchup for this variant of the deck right now because you need extenders to do anything. And the only thing we can really do from here is cross our fingers and hope that Gearfried gets us to the next turn. Because if they can get to Clear Wing, they'll get to Crystal Wing, and from there it's such a card advantage grind to stay in the game. Their consistency is a teeny tiny bit worse, but God knows they will always find a way to open Terror Top. So it's very likely they'll have at least one or two extenders. The Cosmic Cyclone. There we go. We are going to get hit hard by this, and I don't think we're going to have a follow-up. I think it's very likely we just get OTK'd here. Because if he goes into Crystal Wing and anything else, he'll... That is not the tuner I was expecting. Oh, okay. That works. So that's going to go into Clear Wing and then Crystal Wing. And we're not going to activate Veil because it doesn't really serve a purpose here. What we want to be doing in this situation is force out the negate using Agni Mazut and hope that we draw another tribute summon. The problem is that the options we have for that are limited to Red Layer and Farfa, because we don't have another equip spell in the graveyard for Gearfried. So as you can see, even a suboptimal hand from a Speedroid is enough to really make your life tougher. Now, there was an argument to be made for tributing over Gearfried, summoning Sphinx, and then working from there. But we're out of options here. And the play with that would have gotten torn apart with a bigger board anyway, and we'd have no way of follow-up. So we gambled on our turn 3, and it didn't pay off. That's that. It happens with very bad matchups. Not much worth worrying about. And this is a dicey hand. So what we're going to do is set a card and hope for the best. We have a follow-up with Agnemazud, and if we draw a Hazy monster, we can summon something with that after the fact. So what we got to gamble on is our opponent not having the options to extend well past the plays. Alright, so he has a lot of good tools to work with, which means he's probably going to be able to go into Dingirsu from here. And he's going to send our Farfet to the graveyard. We'll banish something. The question is what we want to banish. Do we want to banish the Dingirsu and force him to put it in the main monster zone? That might be the play. But if we're going to banish it anyway with Agni, that might not matter one way or another in the following turn. Whatever keeps us from taking more damage. I think that's about as good as we can do. If I thought this... Nah, it didn't matter. I was going to say if I had thought this better, I would have placed Farfet in a different zone. But with this setup, if he summoned the Link 3 Orcust, he'd be able to send it to the graveyard regardless. That would have been good for us, though, still, because it would have meant that we'd been able to banish something anyway. Not a meaningfully different play. Okay, return. He's going to have the setup for bringing something back next turn with Babel, but he is... The question is how many cards he sets, because at least one of them is going to be Book of Moon, and there's not so much we can do about that. I think we're just going to try and mitigate damage and send you to the banish pile, because even if he activates... No, he doesn't have World Wand anymore. I don't think there's a setup where we still die, but you never know. I don't follow, but I'll take it. Sometimes you don't need a good hand to win. You just need to make something go wrong for your opponent and they don't know what to do from there. It's not a reliable strategy, but... You know, when you get on 2-game losing streaks in Legend, and that's the thing that keeps you from ranking down, it matters. Well, this is a bit of an awkward hand, but, you know, we can still do stuff. So we're going to go for Linkuriboh and follow up into Veil. Pretty standard. This will keep us from dying. Because in order to OTK us, if we searched for Gearfried, it's not very hard to OTK through a Linkuriboh. So it's just a question of what he has. With this, if he doesn't get rid of anything on board or negate anything, he would need 4 attacks to actually start dealing damage. Because you'd have to deal with Linkuriboh that takes no damage. Then you would have to get 1 attack. That damage would get nullified by Veil. You'd have to kill Veil. And then you would have to attack again. That's 4 attacks, and none of them are probably 4,000 damage, so you don't care too much. If he does, like, let's say, Forbidden Chalice and, or even just Utopia the Lightning, he might just have this if he has a Lightning in the extra deck. I don't think this is necessary. I think that he probably wins if he put Lightning in the extra deck, but he might not have. Ooh, Wonder Driver. That's an interesting one. Yeah, I guess the skill sets up Wonder Driver really well. So the question is how he follows up from here. So we can go into Dystopia, and from there he can figure stuff out. The question is whether he fuses stuff from his hand, which I think is the right play for this, just so that he can force it out. But I guess he's gone for kind of the more solid play. This is where he buffs Dystopia by a little bit. And if he knows what I'm on about, I think he might try and out. That's a little disconcerting. We'll see what he tries to do. Oh, he's going straight for destroying the Linkuriboh. So that means that Veil isn't going to stick around, but it is going to mitigate all the damage. So we're not dead, but we don't really know what's coming next. So at least one of those face down cards, I believe, is going to be Polymerization, and he's going to have one material, so we need to clean his board. If we draw Agni, we're probably SOL. I mean, we'll live. Okay, we'll live. He has a Mali in the graveyard, and whatever he has in his hand can survive. Will activate on something face up. So that could be Book of Moon. That could be Forbidden Chalice. Although I think that he didn't need... If he had Forbidden Chalice, that he didn't need to do any of this. This is the kind of deck that could really benefit from Forbidden Lance, because you use it on Dystopia, you bring your attack back up, and you're totally fine. Okay, so that's game for us. We can't do anything about that. Nah, go for it. This is the curse of running too many defensive cards that don't start your plays. But you got to deal with it sometimes, because it's not every game that you open 3 hazy monsters in your opening hand and can't do anything with them. No real indication of what his skill is going to be. We have a decent follow-up. If we start by summoning Farfa, and then we start by summoning Farfa, and if that gets removed from the field somehow, we have the option of summoning Red Layer and going into Periton. The only downside, I'd say, is that we can't start with Agnimazud, pop 2 in our hand, and then banish his guy, and then summon Periton and do that stuff afterwards. But that just comes with the territory. This could actually be a little dicey for us. And it might be the right play to altogether ignore Periton for this turn. And that's going to sound weird, but whatever he's summoning from the hand could be a problem for us. Although really we've got a follow-up, so we're not super worried about it. Even if he brings out Dark Destroyer from the hand, we're not very worried about it. The only bad thing would be Kozmo. So I think he's just going straight for Dark Destroyer. You could go for Good Witch, and that would be bad for us. Oh, it's only Forerunner. That means he might have Kozmojo, though, which is annoying. But if that's the case, we just gotta roll with it. So the question here is how we want to do this. I think we are going to want to summon our guy first, and then follow it up with Agnimazud. Because if he chains Kozmojo to all of this, then he has the option of banishing Sphinx, which means that we can't follow up with any of that stuff, or banishing Cerberus, forcing us to pop Sphinx with Agni. So we're just going to go for it from here, and we'll see what he does. Even if he uses Kozmojo and removes this from the field, Agni can still banish it from the graveyard, and if it can't banish itself, it can't summon another one. Not the most appealing play, but it'll get us there. We'll have enough materials in the graveyard at the end of this in either case to summon Mars. So there's not too much worry about destroying the stuff on field versus the hand. So we're going to go for this, and we'll use this to get another search. I'm of the opinion that since we only have one other non-fire monster in the deck, it's probably safe to search Periton. I could eat my words on this. I'm okay with that. Oh, even better. So that means that searching Serb is also a good play. We're going to want to banish these three because they don't really serve a purpose in the graveyard. Farfa being a little dicier on that regard, but I'm not super worried about it. And either way, it doesn't have follow-up, so that's good for us. The nice thing about having a lot of good main deck boss monsters is that cards like Compulse aren't nearly as effective against them. Even though we're mainly a rank 6 toolbox, we have options that don't lose too much to cards like Crackdown and the like. It's nice to be able to, and Compulse, and all the other, just the limit 3s is what I'm getting at. If Beatrice gets hit with Crackdown on Summon, then you can use Farfa to banish herself. Crackdown gets destroyed when she leaves the field, and during the end phase, Beatrice will come back to the field and go back to your side of the board. So it ends up sort of canceling each other out because you have a Beatrice with no materials, and that'll still float, but there's enough. But pretty much every competent deck has a way of stopping that from happening. I ignored the matchup. We're against Trickstars. We're in a great spot. Even if he goes for the Link 4, we're not super worried. We are going to take some burn damage, and there's nothing we can really do about that, so I don't think it's super worth worrying about. We don't know what he has or is running as far as back row goes, because this is a deck that can run the limit 3s. So I think he's probably going to go for a, the Link 2. He might even go for a 3FX play with Crimson Heart, which isn't awful for us. It doesn't look like he's going for the heavy slump play, or at least I would have expected different plays if he were. He still could, but we don't know that yet. We would have to draw 3 cards out of this, and it looks like he's going straight for Crimson Heart, so that's fine for us. This card is going to protect whatever links he summons from destruction once, and we can get around that with Agnemazid, but that doesn't mean we can be, lazy taking care of the rest of the board. So now we have another fire monster in our hand for backup. They discarded a Korobane, so I'm inclined to think that he might have another in the hand, or that was their only Trickstar in the hand. Because he searched out the equip spell from that. We have basically all the follow-up we want. Oh. And we're going to want to banish Serb and Sphinx to activate Agni. And that sounds a little dicey, but there's a reason for that. If he's running either Ice Dragon's Prison or Compulse, then we want a follow-up that's not vulnerable to that. We still have the option of summoning 2 Sphinx from the deck using Periton, so even if one gets hit with Ice Dragon's Prison, we'll still be able to follow up. And the reason we didn't hit Mars with it is because if we normal summon Periton and they bring that back, then we have no follow-up, either from Mars or Periton. Now, he could hit us with a warning point. That'd be a little annoying, but it wouldn't be intolerable because we still have Gear Free to work with. I'm inclined to think that at least one of the cards in his hand is, or rather one of his back row is one of the limit 3s. So it's a question of which of those would be bad for us. So we basically have everything we could want. I'm inclined to say that Serb is good to get here. And we don't have a follow-up that involves Cerberus, so this card has a bit less utility than it would have otherwise. So what I think we're going to do is we're going to go for Beatrice. And I'd say this is kind of low impact, takes a minor hit from, Compulse and the other traps. So what we've got in our graveyard now is this, and that. I don't think we care too much about that stuff, so we're going to go ahead and summon Gearfried. We don't need to mill anything yet. I don't think there's any monster effects he can activate now that are very threatening to us. So we're going to go ahead and bring back the Blazing Mars and banish these three. If we get hit by Needle Sealing, it's going to be very unfortunate, but we'll still have follow-up. So we're going to attach this to Sphinx. And we're going to attack with Gearfried. If only to get that out of the way. And also because we want to equip this rather than... okay, Compulse on... That's totally fine. I think it can still do stuff, so we're not really in a hurry to try and clean everything out. So even if he has another Korobane in his hand, that's totally fine. We're not super worried about that. It goes for another Compulse. Please tell me you're going to hit the Beatrice. It doesn't make sense for you not to. Okay, good, good. We're going to mill the Roland. Oh, he does have the other Korobane. And he doesn't go for it. I guess he thinks the follow-ups are more important, which, fair. We don't have a reason to search another Gearfried right now, because we have both of the others, so we may actually just want to go for Red Layer. I could see Gearfried 2 being useful if we had other follow-up, but I think that because we don't have any other Sphinx in the deck, that it's better for us to play it like this. So I think he has Korobane, Candina. We'll see what he draws. It might seem weird for us to get a Red Layer when we're probably going to have some card or some board presence at the end of the turn, but I think it'll be fine. He's going for a Festival. I don't think he's going to go for another draw. I think this is probably an angle where you want to go for, whatchamacallit? What's the one that, Holly Angel? The 2000 attack one that's the basic one. Also, I can't believe this guy isn't running a Blue Angel with Trickstars now. They changed the skill for you. You got to do something. We might not have Link Karibo yet, so that might be something. I'm surprised he's going for more cards. I feel like you're hemorrhaging too many resources to get anything good out of this. Okay, there we go. Goes for the Korobane. So we have the option of going in for Veil, but I don't think that's entirely necessary right now. Because we'll have the option to go back into Gearfried, and if we want to go into, say, Red Layer, we have the option to do this. So we contribute Mars, summon a card. So the last one must be White Princess. And because of that, and because we tributed it and it's in the graveyard, we have the option of going for this. And we don't have any more Beast Warriors, so we don't really care about how many Sphinxes are in the graveyard. He's used 2 limit 2s, but you never know what the last one's going to be. Not 2 limit 2s, limit 3s. So we want to attack first with Gearfried. And we're going to go and take Crimson Heart. And we're going to go ahead and eat Crimson Heart. We could have attacked in the other order, and that would have been fine. But I don't think we're super worried about that. Interesting. So what would have been face up that would have let him activate something? Or maybe just turned it off. Either way. Or rather turned off his toggle. Yeah, it was probably White Princess. There was another angle where you attacked Candina with Gearfried, and from there you could have eaten Trickstar Crimson Heart anyway. But there's a window where you're vulnerable to White Princess there before you equip their link to Gearfried, and the attack will lower. And that really doesn't help you, because when you have 9 versus 4, that means you'd be have a deficit of 1500 attack. And you probably wouldn't be able to, would you? You'd have a 3,500 versus 1,800. You lose 1,500. I guess that would have been fine. Either way, we still had enough damage, so it became a moot point. It does mean that we might have missed lethal if he did it just as a defensive play. But I'm not too concerned about that. It would have been very hard for him to get the card advantage he needed to really come back into the game. Another new Destiny hero. So we have it set up to go into Periton next turn with Farfa, but we don't have a follow-up, which means if he decides to shotgun the Dystopia pop on Farfa, we don't really have a follow-up. We do have a hand trap, but that might not help us. I haven't seen Dangerous in a while, Legacy Duels notwithstanding. So what could he send to the graveyard with that? Oh. Okay. All right, let's see what you're cooking. What are you cooking? Good looking. Can't activate Celestial this turn, but it's not like he ever could. So, kind of a moot point. But we'll see what he's up to. We've got enough to work with. I think he'll catch on to what we're doing with this turn. So, we're not really in a hurry to do anything this turn. We might just sit on Beatrice and see what he does. My only major concern is that he has the option to basically, I'm pretty sure he has enough resources to go into, that's no fun. So we can't really do anything from here, so we're just going to kind of wait it out. Periton is technically vulnerable to stuff that Beatrice could mill, but I don't think that matters too much. We have the hand trap, and we have a follow-up to get to Gearfried. So, World's his oyster from here. As long as he can empty out his hand, he can do pretty much whatever. If he goes for Trinity, we lose, because we can't really do anything in the face of that. So it's just a question of what he wants to do. He's already used polymerization, so I don't know what he wants to do from here. Yeah, he's going straight for Plasma. Oh, that's no problem for us. Although it does mean he gets to draw 2 with his other thing, which is a little annoying. So this play is going to look weird, and I promise there's a method to my madness. So we'll see how many set cards he has. Well, that's not super, it's a little inconvenient, but we're not super worried about it. He has no back row, so, let's see where we go from here. So there's a few ways we can go from here, and I think we want to go for the heavy extenders. This is going to seem weird, but there's a method to it. Let's check and see what he has in his graveyard now. I want to see if we can do something about follow-up. I don't think we have any damage. We do have one damage dealing effect, so we might want this out of the graveyard, which is going to sound weird, but bear with me. There's a method to my madness. He can do something, but I don't know what. So this is going to be you and you. And you got no place here. So what can you do from here? What can DD Crow into? I don't know what you think that's going to do. But this is where we go for Gear Freed again. And we should have enough damage to just end this. Yep, there we go. Cool beans. Alright, so we're against Rockets. This deck didn't get too badly hit by the list, so it's interesting to see what they're running. A lot of them are running Void Ogre Dragon, which is a little annoying for us because this isn't our best hand. We kind of need to get something like Agnemazid if we want to break through their stuff. Although it seems that... There we go. No, they're fine. I'm sorry? Well, all right then. We can't follow up or do anything crazy this turn. So we're just going to wait and see what he does. I don't think we're going to get hit with Book of Moon, so we're just going to go for the Link Karibo, force him to deal with it, and follow up next turn. We might get hit with a Needle Sealing, which is going to be unfortunate, but, well, what can you do? So that's going to get us to Gear Freed. I'm not sure I mentioned it before, but having multiple kinds of hand traps can matter in this kind of one, especially because if we want Veil to stick to the board. Because you can basically force your opponent to have attack, buffer out their attacks with, what'd you call it? I'm not good with words right now. Now, we could activate Link Karibo here, but we're actually just going to let him ram into it. This could be a mistake, just so you know. And from here, we'll summon Veil. And he could actually use a Tracer to pop itself or go pop the Boot Sector launch. I think if he's going to pop anything, he's probably going to go for the launch. But he decided not to, so now we have some board presence, and we have quite a few options going forward. We can go for Veil. Not go for Veil, Tribute Veil. And he might have Warning Point or the like, so we're going to go for basically a wide play. We may want to hold on to Roland in our hand because we don't need the search right off the bat. And we have two options here. If we summon another monster, then Needle Sealing is live, and that's a problem for us. It also means that if he's just trying to survive at this juncture, we just go for the Warning Point there, which is fine. He may have another, and is going to go for the Tracer to pop that and get another. So what we want to do in this situation, I think, is probably just eat his monster and negate what we can. So that hurts a little bit. We can't do anything with them this turn, so we're going to follow up and go for what we can. He may have other stuff. We'll just have to see what his other back row are. If he goes for this, it means he's going to be able to follow up into both of them if he detaches 2 materials. But we can't do too much about that, so it's not worth worrying about in my eyes. So we're going to attach this to probably Serb, because it's very likely they're going to go after Sphinx anyway. Interestingly, he goes for that. Oh, that's totally fine. It means we can't do anything with this, and he's going to have the option to summon stuff and go for boot sector launch anyway. And by that, I mean he's going to, let's say, make a level 8 or a rank 4. And if he goes for Scarlight, Red Dragon, Archfiend, it's going to mean that he can't kill this, but he's going to force this to miss the timing, which is really obnoxious. Doing this means that he can use... oh, he's going for Dillingerous Dragon. Can he go for... He can go for Borreload from here, but I don't think that's the right play. Or at least, I'm not seeing the appeal of Borreload. Yeah, there we go. Scarlight, that means this is going to miss timing, which is unfortunate, but what can you do? It also means that I don't see the point of Dillingerous. So we took some damage. He's going to attack into that. And unfortunately, it means that... Oh, no, we're fine. We can activate Roland during the damage step. So he attacks that. We equip this. And there isn't really a reason for us to search out another... Quick Launch is interesting. Although I don't think that's going to kill us. That'll hurt. That can't attack, can it? It can't. So that was a little iffy. I feel like he had some options there that he wasn't looking into. But I won't question it. So we could go for this and we'd be able to banish something with it. But we're going to go for Red Layer because I think our main play is going to be summoning something, tributing it for Sphinx, and bringing back our Infernoble. Not Infernoble, Gearfried. Because we need to get rid of this turn. So we'll see what we mill. He could go for Warning Point, and that's just curtains for us anyway. But it looks like it's something... Well, no, we can't tell because of Tracer, so it could literally be anything. Much as I'd like to do something with the other stuff, I think right now it is going to be a deal with Scarlight, Red Dragon, Archfiend right now kind of play. So we'll go for Tracer, see what he does. That's bad for us. I don't think we can follow up with anything for that, so I think he's got it from here. Needle Sealing was always an option, and if he didn't have Warning Point the prior turn, he probably would have used it on our Hazy board once we summoned 3 monsters. We would have been able to follow that up with Gearfried, and we would have been able to negate whatever Rokket he sent, but it would have still had Boot Sector Launch, which would have made it a moot point. So he's got this. If we had drawn another extender with Instead of that second Sphinx, we might have been able to do something, but so it goes. All right, that's a couple games with a Hazy and the new format. It's a solid deck. I won't call it good because what a deck needs to do to be good right now is, a little ridiculous. It needs to have Foolish and Emergency Teleport as part of its skill, or maybe just be Orcust. But, you can perform with a lot of other stuff right now, and I think that's a good state of the game when you have a lot of options about how you want to do things. Anyhow, this is Extra Shoddy, signing out for now.